Hold on, folks. Then we're going to look at cycle number 6. So technically, this would be the last cycle I have before I absolutely have to make a decision to whether I'm going to colonize this planet or not. And it looks, by all likelihood, it looks like I'm going to do just that because the odds of there being, I don't know. There's always a slim chance. We have 10% left to search the solar system to determine what's in here. So I'm going to go ahead and task our our nicely loaned sloop to this purpose, burn up 1 ton of supplies and 2 tons of fuel to do so, and we make our 10% or our D100 roll, and we have, oh crap. Speak of the devil, I mean, I'm going to say, I don't think I got anything else. All right, well, so we have discovered a 1. It brings us to 100%. 0-1, which is a breathable planet. All right, so roll for type. You saw me roll that. I didn't make that up. So, breathable planet chart. And we have a 59. And it is a swamp planet. So its build modifier is going to be worse than this other one, which is what it is. Alright, so the grassland will be the planet. Because the build modifier for the swamp is 2.5. And population modifier is 0.003. And as this says, there's a caveat, says number. So let's look at sub 3. 3 says roll odd for hot, even for cold. So potentially this could be a hot swamp or a cold swamp. Right? So odd or even. Odd is a hot, so it's a hot planet. Which means it's going to be a steamy, muggy ass world. Right? I'm not big, just because of it being hotter, I'm going to be fun, and I'm going to just stick it a little closer to the sun just for shits and giggles. Alright, so there's our planet, unnamed yet, and I had already named this one on the last one, Fairwinds, and this is a hot swamp, and we'll see if it has a moon. Let's see. There's the number of moons. When the planet is discovered, one of the first things to determine is the moons and at what quantity. Planets only roll once. Gas giants roll and apply their moon modifier. Moons, errants, and asteroids do not have moons. So let's see. What do we get? 42. 42 is 1 moon. Right? And let's find out just for fun, because I don't think I ever did to figure out what that one is either. So let's find out what kind of moons these 2 moons are. We'll go ahead and do the moon for Fairwinds, and it's a 45. Crap. Fairwinds has a moon with a breathable atmosphere. Holy crap. Let's go ahead and we'll roll for this one out here on the hot swamp planet too. 72. 72 is an airless rock, which is what we kind of expect it to be, right? Yeah, great. Let's do that. Non-breathable. Nope, not breathable. So breathable planets. Now we have a breathable moon orbiting a breathable planet. 98. It's an Arctic. All right. So it is Arctic, which is weird, but it is what it is. Build modifier is 3.5, and population growth is 0.045. All right. So now we know the system is 100% explored. So I can put that in a pin. And I haven't named the star system itself. So I'm going to go ahead and I don't know. I'm going to give it some thought. I don't want to fire off something just straight out of my brain because it'll be something stupid, no doubt. All right. I'm just saying. Anyway, that was we used the sloop to explore that, and I'm going to go ahead and task my mining ship to go ahead and explore the swamp planet for its mineral resources. That means my mining ship will have to return to Fairwind for refuel on the next cycle for sure, because then it will be toast if it don't. So we're going to go ahead and do the MR roll for the swamp planet that's yet to be named, and our resources. Basics. We know it's breathable, so we know there's going to be oxygen. We know there's going to be water there. So I'm going to put water toward the back, and roll 110, and I get 6. So I have 6 natural resources plus oxygen and water on this planet. So 24 is fluorine. 61 is organics. Yeah, organics is something you can mine. So organics serves as a construction modifier or material. It's also a number of things. So ideally, it's a swamp plant with a bunch of vegetation, and some kind of vegetation here is some kind of organic material, because in theory, oil is also organic, or was, and it can be processed and utilized. We'll go ahead and put oxygen in the equation at that moment. So I need 4 more MRs. 99 is uridium. And 22 is Uberium, E-R-B-I-U-M. Yeah, I can't pronounce it, but whatever. We know it's something. Then I'll go ahead and plug in water. That leaves me 2 more, which is 21, which is Dubarium, DB. Hey, all this, I didn't make up this stuff. Most of this, you find all these things on the periodical chart, because that's where I got all this shit from. Excuse me. Number 5, acetane, anyway, AT. All right, which means it's a nice load of stuff. Now, my scout ships, I am going to go ahead and I'm going to roll. I'm going to have my scout ships burn up two rolls of searching this new planet, just because I really would like to get a grip on what may be available for me there. And then I will leave them with 2 cycles worth of supplies, so they can either make 2 more. They'll probably go ahead and do 2 more exploration rolls on the cycle 7, and then return at cycle 8 to the Fairwind to be resupplied. And so we're going to now go to exploration planetary chart, and we'll be on the first chart at 52. 52, wildlife discovered. Well, of course it is. It's a swamp planet. All right, so this should be 10% wildlife. Hey, fauna. And then we're going to do 20%. $95, which puts us on chart 3. Yeah, if you don't like charts, this is not going to be a game you would want to play. Oh, 1. Oh. Yeah. The ancient ruins of an alien civilization cover the planet. Estimates place it over 1 million galactic years old. Add 2 starship traffic rolls to the planet as word gets out, and thingies from all walks of life come to walk along dead streets and to study strange and odd artifacts laying around buried in the earth. That is just effed. Yeah, that's a great find. Jeez. Chart 3. Roll. is 1. Ancient ruins. I'm going to have a lot of figuring out for that stuff on that planet. There, never mind. Yeah, never mind there, Sonny. Ignore the crazy man behind the screen, because I don't want to know. But you know what? That might explain why both the Rogue Imperium warship and the Guild scout ship is loitering in my system too, which I haven't yet tried to figure out if they're still there. So, you know, just for shits and giggles, we're going to say odd. The scout ship left the system. Even, no, the scout is still here. Isn't cycle 5 or cycle 6, and the Rogue Imperial warship, odd and even it took off. Now it says they're both still lingering. Great. I don't want to know what I'm doing here. Yeah, well, it is what it is. All right, so basically what we have going to happen for my next cycle, and is I'm going to do an updated version of my planetary map or planetary control sheet. I'm also going to color in, put some basic layout of what I think my grassland might look like. I'll also create a version of this for the swamp planet, because obviously I'm going to need it. I will do a more formal version of this because everything's physically set, so I know what's in the system. All I gotta do is gotta come up with a name for the system itself. And let's see, where are you at? Is that, no, that's not. Well, I put all this stuff here somewhere so I could find it, and then of course I want to find it, and I just want to grab it, and I gotta figure out exactly where did I hide it. Did I hide it in there? No. Oh, I know. I took it out there, the other room, because the cats were chewing on it. Great. Well, because I have a more elaborate version of some of this stuff to share with you. So we'll go ahead and put that over there, and we're going to do a brief rundown here, which you're going to see on the next cycle. Right. So my colonization ship is going to land. When it lands, it's going to completely dismantle itself and become the components thereof of the materials that I need to have. And we are going to include a number of builds and population growth and other things that will become even more time consuming, because if nothing else, this game will chew up a lot of time. It's a matter of what you want to have and done. So we are going to, on my list, there we go. The initial builds included with the colony are, we have an agri-concern, which is going to produce food and other components. We have the colonial center, which is the heart of the government and temporarily the House Lord's residence, or not residence, but the bureaucracy. We have a housing complex 1, which means it's a Tech 1, and it'll handle up to maximum is 15,000 residents. So immediately one of the first things I'm going to want to do is to construct another housing concern as soon as I can. We have a mining concern. Now, the mining concern basically is a mining operation on the planet, so I will not need to tie up my mining ship any longer mining the Fairwind, because Fairwind will automatically produce X amount of dice worth of these every cycle, and those X dice, there's 2 methods of dealing with it. The one method is, and I believe it's 2 dice. You're going to roll 2 d10s per item per turn and per cycle, and then keep updating your exchange. Or you can choose to opt at the 50%. So obviously 50% of a d20 potentially is 10. So then you just say every cycle I get 10 tons of these materials average into my exchange. That way it just reduces the amount of dice rolls you need to do if you choose. Then we have a refinery complex, and include a system wide communications network, or SCN, which means I can communicate with all the stuff in the solar system without an issue, unless there's some kind of a stellar event that causes like a solar flare or something like that. We have the storage facility, which allows us to store and collect things and to establish our exchange. And we have the Royal Palace, which is basically an estate. An estate is just a fancier name for an estate, which is where the House Lord's residence is going to be. We have a factory complex. Factory complex A. And a light foundry. Then, of course, a power grid. That's a power grid 1. And a shipyard complex. Shipyard. That is also a 1. And what we mean by 1 is we're talking tech level 1. So everything here on this planet is tech level 1. And so our new population for the immediate cycle is 10,000 people. And since I never established what genome, I'm going by the assumption that I'm going to just do plain outright human. That's not my preferred genome, because some genomes have advantages that others don't. Some have some disadvantages others don't. They tend to have a plus and minus depending on how you look at it. And I have, one of my favorite ones are Shadans. And they would take several videos to go through to explain why that is and what they are. So let's look at this is probably one of the most common genomes that we see in the inner sphere. Is called an Ovinus. They're exotic humans. They average size medium, 1.5 to 1.9 meters, average weight 46 to 100 kilograms. They have 3 body points. General description: majority have pale green skin, while a few have rich chocolate ebony color. They have thick coverings of body hair that resemble wool. The most go to great lengths to keep it under control. Few other genomes utilize more hair defoliants than do an Ovinus. Commonly called sheepheads by the majority of others, these docile-seeming genomes are probably the largest majority of known exotic humans in settled space and can be found on nearly any Imperium Age world. Counted as one of the first genetically enhanced human genomes, they thrive where routine is expected. Originally designed to work at desk jobs and general technical fields, Ovinus are very comfortable at jobs that others find less exciting. Because of this, they tend to seek out positions in business and government where they feel safe and part of a larger group. Ovinus are also prevalent in the entertainment and service industries, as well as among the fringe as personal assistants, joy toys, and body attendants. So they get special heightened common sense. They gain a +1 to their mat, pat, and fat and rolls, and a +3 to their rat rolls. Naturally docile, not naturally prone to violence. They get a -10 to cat, which is combat attitude. So when we look at these, I'm trying to not run down rabbit holes. Mental attitude, physical attitude, fear attitude, and reaction attitude. They're naturally docile. They're not naturally prone to violence, which gives them a -10 to their combat attitude and a +10 to mental attitude modifiers. Because of their unassuming nature, Ovinus also gain a +2 stealth bonus with an additional bonus of +5 when moving through crowded urban settings, because people tend to ignore them. Think of your mild-mannered, mousy clerks and this is the kind of person that the Ovinus is. And if you're going to run down that furry rabbit thing, yes, there's some furry things going on here, but this is because at some point in humanity's genetic quest for improvement, they figured that if they could just genetically engineer a branch of humanity that were not prone to fighting and rioting and being discontent and having hate for anything, and would love to do a lot of them mindless, soulless, cubicle kind of driven things or repetitive things where you're sitting on an assembly line for 10 hours a day and repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again. Why not make a person who's going to enjoy this and be happy with their settlement and their position and things like this? And that's kind of where we're getting at how genomes work and stuff like that. So anyway, the humans are all neutral based, which means they don't have any special negatives or bonuses to them, and that makes things a bit more simplistic. Right now, we are going to see one we get 2 ship traffic rolls per cycle. One, because it's the first settled planet in the system becomes the Class A planet of the system. The class, the swamp planet would be considered a Class C. To become a Class B, there's another scenario as to what quantifies this. So this planet is a Class A, and it is going to get currently 2 ship traffic rolls per cycle, and then it also, because during the exploration phase we found what looks like, what is it? Where is that? A fringer, right? A little known pirate haven. So this pirate haven actually generates what I call a fringe traffic or guild traffic roll. So in this case, fringe traffic rolls, we're going to get 1 because we now have, so this allows for 3 potential ships to arrive in the system. 2 will come to the capital spaceport, 1 would go to that fringe port, that fringe haven, and down the road we're going to figure out what and why. I have not established any patrols around my system, so there's no patrol rolls to make. Our current infrastructure is going to be set at IFR Tech level 1, 0.1%. So when that reaches 100%, then my infrastructure improves. What this matters is because a lot of higher technical builds require higher infrastructure to maintain your roads, your water systems, your communication, the world's communication networks, the power grid distribution, things like this all matter. So over time, I'm going to keep wanting to push a certain amount of my manufactured and mined resources into improving my infrastructure as I go along. And I now know I have a capital on the planet. I have no other existing towns or villages other than that haven that I don't know about yet. I mean, I know it's there, I just don't know nothing about it. So ideally, I would pick a point here and say, okay, here's where my capital is going to be, and then here, you know, here's a nice gap on the south, and here's one on the north, kind of thing. And maybe there's a shallow sea over here, and we'll have a shallow sea over here too, and nothing else of, maybe a very thin mountain chain coming across here, maybe some hills and stuff over in this area, because it's a grassland. Mostly, it's predominantly going to be grass. That doesn't mean it has to be completely like Nebraska. Just saying, it doesn't have to be that way. We haven't determined seasons, so I don't know if it's got 4 seasons, if it's got 2, if it's got 10. That's a matter of flavor. Do you want to include that, and do you want to check for weather rolls? Because weather rolls can affect things. You can have good weather that improves like food production, and then you can have bad weather that causes all kinds of problems. As a new player, I wouldn't recommend worrying about some levels of detail. It's a matter of taste, what you want to get into it, what you want to get out of it, and so on and so forth. So we don't worry about that. And we don't know what our planetary satisfaction rate is yet. We haven't established that, and I'm not going to worry about it right at the moment. I do know that my current build modifier over here is 1.1, population growth is 0.008. Now, both of these change. Because I've colonized the world, my house lord gains a population modifier, and I'll have to look it up and plug it in. And then build modifiers can be slightly adjusted a little bit, but that has a lot to do with what kind of builds are present. None of my current builds will affect a build modifier. So when we're talking about population growth, let's just say I got a 0.0 with the addition of the now Squire, because the lowest ranking noble in the Imperium is a Squire. So by settling the planet, officially my house lord has now become the Squire whatever, and I haven't come up with a name for my Squire yet. And the Squire has 1 settled colony under their belt. To become a Thane, they need several more, and they have to be in they need 2 separate solar systems with colonies established, and they have to be legitimate colonies, not temporary setups or outposts or things like that. Anyway, so let's say we have a 0.018 modifier. And that sounds like extremely low, but when you're looking at your numbers, I'm going to take 0.018 times 10,000, and I'm going to end up with a population growth next of next cycle of 118 people. So then my population is going to increase from 10,000 to 10,118. And then the cycle after that is going to be that number times that population growth, and it's going to continue to grow. When it starts getting into hundreds and then millions, you're going to wish you had a much smaller damn population growth. And these things go up too. These are modified once again by types of builds and other events that can take place on a planet that will enhance things. So it's like our swamp planet. We already know that our swamp planet has a massive tourist attraction in those ancient ruins of some long gone alien race that didn't survive. We also don't know exactly why or how long ago or how old they are. We know absolutely nothing about that world. So I want to be a little more cautious about doing anything there until I've got it completely completely searched. Once I know 100% there's there's not some biochemical organic thing or another that wiped out their, perhaps they researched bioweaponry that destroyed themselves with, that kind of thing. We don't know. There's also a modest possibility that that ancient society, it's the event was pretty specific about its age. But if you find a much more recent abandoned colony, there's lots and lots of reasons why that may have occurred. The current timeline for the game is the year 10,000 plus, so we're 8,000 years into the future from today. And in them 8,000 years, humanity has undergone numerous major wars and a lot of catastrophic events, including an AI war, a bug war, two internal wars or civil wars for control of the Imperium, and there was just goes on and on. Meanwhile, the Imperium itself is so vast, it's so massive that 99% or 99.9% of the goings on of the greater reaches of settled space is beyond the care or the ken of anybody on our colony. We don't care, and it's not likely to overflow out here anytime in our lifetime, so we continue to don't care. All we care about is survival and to expanding and developing our little world and perhaps our little empire and becoming whatever it is we want to develop out of it. It's just what it is. Anyway, this is Rick, and I hope you guys have a great weekend.